the first time you and I met was probably not that nice, to be honest. I often think back to that time because I think, man, how much have I learned as a person? And because I think I was pretty straight up, wasn't I?
Oh, you were fairly straight up.
Yeah. I might have even used an F word and maybe even a C word at one stage. But that's the great thing about it, is I've learned so much, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with kids, I think. You've got to learn to chill out a little bit and let them learn, and you learn at the same time. And
yeah, so when I met you, I was
Yeah.
very surprised because of the look of you.
yeah,
If I'm being honest,
Yeah.
you reckon like, you must get that a bit.
all
first
the time,
impressions.
yeah. And the more so now, I realise that it's probably more my job to break down stereotypes. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing. You can look at me and you can decide whether I look like a gang member, a criminal, someone that eats too much. There's a million things you could judge me on, and you could get upset about that, or you could prove them all wrong, and that's what I prefer to do. So I leave myself probably open to opportunities that might arise, and that's how wedding photography came about. It was just an opportunity and just pure ignorance of jumping into something I didn't know, and just blindly going forward. And I dropped out the other side with some awards, and people think that my images are okay and they might call me creative and stuff, whereas I personally don't think I'm creative. I think that I just enjoy a challenge, and that's how I see everything. So I don't think about being creative. I look at people that do some paintings or carvings and stuff, and I think, wow, that's creative. I'm just more about observations and, clicking a camera, and that for me is probably more just about a challenge.
So you're pretty active in the community here at the moment?
Try to be, yeah. Try to do as much as I can, because I don't believe in being one of those individuals that can complain about something and then not do anything about it, so that's my little thing, is like, if you want to complain about the youth on the street, well, what are you doing to help the youth on the street? Have you even thought beyond that and thought, what sort of life do they come from? Because that's a biggie. I come from a similar lifestyle where sometimes I'd rather be out on the street at night than being in my own environment, in my home environment, because it wasn't overly that great. So, yeah. My dad, at one stage when I was at school, said to me, "You're too big to be hit with my hand, and now I'm going to hit you with my fist if you fuck up." So that's his idea of life. And he comes from a background where he was, I suppose, mistreated in some ways sometimes, and he'd never really he's actually quite an intellectual man, but at the same time he's super selfish and never really took the time out to reflect on how he could help people or make the world a better place. Even, we don't have to go thinking about the world, just even local. Yeah. And localization could be just in your home, and then just spread it out from there. My mother, on the other hand, she kept us alive a lot of the times, My father used to beat her, so, you watch that shit in your home and you see holes punched in walls and all sorts of stuff, and that's part. You got to remember, you're still going to school.
Yeah.
You've got all that in your head, and then you've got a teacher that wants to have a little go at you, like, why haven't you done your homework? And so instead of just like saying, oh, because my dad beat up my mum, or they were too busy doing drugs, or they were so drunk that half the pub came round, or all that sort of crap, you don't want to let people know how bad your life is. So instead you're like, oh, well, fuck you, teacher.
Yeah.
And next minute you're going to get strapped and caned again, because you don't know where your balance of telling people the truth, and you're embarrassed as well. It's.
So with your parenting now, have you had to struggle and adjust and learn anything along the way?
I've struggled and adjusted so much every day, still learning. It's you just constantly learn. You've got to be open to learn though. Every time you think, this is how I should parent, and then you've got to stay open with your communication with your kids and talk to them about the things they like and don't like, and make them understand the way you see stuff, and then you've got to turn around and say, well, okay, I probably shouldn't say these things to their kids, because I've got to realise that maybe they are generational things that I've passed on to me that I feel that I need to pass on to them, and that's something that I need to readdress all the time and reflect on. It's like, how much am I trying to teach my kids through archaic ways or generational ways? The problem is we're entrapped in our financial ways and our working week. You know, everyone's like, yeah, we've got to do 40 hours, 50 hours. I'm busy, and busy's cool, but busy's not cool, because if you're super busy, what are you doing for your kids? How are you teaching them? You know, my biggest thing with that is like our future. You're so worried about giving your kids a financial future that you almost forget to give them a future in terms of how you teach them, how you hang out with them. All they see is you on your cell phone, or you at work, or whatever. When, you know, kids are smart.
Yeah.
They pick up so much.
Yeah.
Scary smart. You know, and, you know, our future should be giving them our time. When my kids get into their teenage years, I want them to be a little bit naughty. I want them to be a little bit innocent, but I also want them to come up to me and say, Dad, I fucked up.
Yeah.
You know? And I can go, instead of judging them and going off them, and say, okay, let's sit down and let's talk about it. How can we help? How can we do this? You know? How can we make this thing? You know? Not them never come and talk to you because you were never there anyway. You were too busy working 60 hours a week. And, you know, your kids are learned that, oh, we won't talk to Dad because he's too busy, won't talk to Mum because she's too busy. And that's not a very nice cycle to start, is it? You know, it leads down to some pretty grim places, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we talked about it before. It's like, I used to take so many photos of my kids all the time. And in the last year and a half, I've probably taken a quarter of what I used to take. And now I just enjoy going and doing things with my kids instead of trying to document every 5 meters of their life and pretending that my life is amazing on Facebook. You know, it's like, I took my daughter with me up to Taira to meet a client from weddings, and I said to Chilia, should we climb to the top of Paku? And she's like, oh, I don't really want to, it'd be a long way. And I was like, no, let's do it. So we both got up there and did it, and her look on her face when we got to the very top of Paku and looked all around Paranui and Taira was just, she says, that was awesome, Dad. It's the first time I've actually ever done a selfie. So she said, I want a selfie with my dad on top of the hill, you know. It's like, that was the first time I could actually see a real moment worth capturing.
Yeah.
Though I'd be happy enough to just have the memory of it. I don't need the picture of it, you know. So yeah. I'm just enjoying hanging with my kids, my family and friends, and doing things with people that are that need a little bit more time, you know what I mean? So yeah.